Good evening. Mark Barnaby, and appreciate being here again tonight. Good to see you.
Mr. Barnaby, before you get started, you should probably introduce your lovely wife in this evening, shouldn't you?
I'll be happy to do that. My lovely wife is sitting in the back corner, Vice Mayor for the city of Bradenton, and that makes me as
newly elected, right?
Newly elected in that role, yes. And so she's here watching to see how it's done right. So
she's judging you right now.
That makes me first man of vice. I think that's what we agreed to. So this is the first of several meetings on land development code amendments, first public hearings, I should say. And we listened and heard very clearly that we are trying to enable Plant City to continue to be the vibrant community that it is, but more importantly, to protect the unique character of Plant City. And we think we've made good steps to move in that direction. All right, and I'm going to take a little bit of time. I apologize. This is a public hearing. I thought I'd go through some things which you've probably already heard. This is a change to plan development code. First of all, we are doing a significant expounding of the review criteria, and I'll go through each of these items in a little more detail shortly. Simplified detail on the required items. Commission may allow variations through a specific approval process and an alteration to the amendment process. In addition to that, while we're going through the plan development section, we noted that normally we have required detailed site plans for both the plan development and other types of development, and but there was no real section in the code that addressed that, particularly for non-plan development projects. So we took that section, moved it to another location so that we have that requirement in the code for all types of development, not just plan development. Now, that fills a gap in the current code of ordinances and provides time limits and extensions of the detailed site plans. Wow, that was good. All right. The primary changes are I'm going to go through real quickly. The general review criteria in section 102-444. In your current code, your current review criteria for plan development is about 3 lines long. We think that this will provide you more detail and a better idea of what you're going to be looking at and considering when you're approving a plan development project. So we greatly expanded the discussion in that area. We now have approximately 22 different sets of criteria to look at, including site characteristics, relation to public services and facilities, compatibility, transitions to area properties, driving and parking design, multimodal and pedestrian systems, environmental systems, density and intensity, height, and screening, buffering, and other standards. And that will give you a little more guidance as to what to be looking at and a little more protection if you decide not to move forward with the project, or if you are moving forward with the project, in both cases. It also allows staff, and this is important, to request building elevations and or renderings for all non-residential, multifamily, and small lot development. That doesn't require it, but I think as we talked about the unique character of Plant City, we're trying to make sure that you see what's going to be built on the site in general terms, and you have some ability to protect that. We also have made some amendments to specific review criteria, which is in section 102-445. This is generally similar to the city's current code, although we've made the open space requirements less complicated. This fills gaps within the code of ordinances regarding setback and reorganizes some of the provisions. It deletes the provisions of the code that allow for reduction of setbacks to PD projects over 350 acres that provide a certain amount of open space. What we have done here is we have put some specific criteria for open space in the code generally, and you can modify that specific approval process, which I'll talk about in just a second.
Can I ask you a question there?
Just a second.
So a 100-acre land tract is going to be treated just like a 500-acre tract?
That's correct.
Okay.
You have a specific criteria in the code for that, specific amount of open space that's required. You can request a specific approval if you want to, and if you can meet those criteria, and we'll talk about that right now, as a matter of fact. This allows the applicant to ask for specific approval to deviate from the city code. That's in lieu of a variance request that now goes before the Board of Adjustment. It will come to the City Commission for consideration and any decisions in that regard. It requires identification of requests on the plans to make sure they know it's coming. It requires commission approval, and it requires a determination by this commission that it will not significantly impact beyond existing code provisions. It is not inconsistent with the general intent of the code. And it is in the best interest of the city. And that oftentimes will involve trade-off, such as a smaller setback for increased buffering or open space. That's an example that you might have. Okay. There are three things that specifically it prohibits. It prohibits specific approval for the following: single-family detached lots of less than 4,000 square feet, single-family detached lots of less than 40 feet in width, and it limits the lots less than 60 feet in width to 30% of the total number of lots. I want to talk a little bit more about that in a couple of minutes. And also, we've also cleaned up language in sections 102-446 through 102-451. It eliminates a lot of repetitive language in those sections and resolves some inconsistencies with our existing code. Section 102-452 provides for modifications. Now you have this in your code currently, slightly different names for them, but minor modifications we list specifically that can be approved administratively. Things like decreasing the amount of open space, for example, I'm going to say that wrong. Yeah, such as increasing open space, that can be approved administratively, and decreasing the number of units, that can be approved administratively, things like that. Things that everyone would agree are not major issues. Major modifications are modifications that are not minor modifications, and those all must be approved by the City Commission. So anything that is not a minor modification will have to come back to this commission. As we talked about, detailed site plans, that is a new section, sections 102-900 through 102-903. Requires detailed site plans for all significant projects, not just planned development. Provides additional details for detailed site plans, and provides review criteria for detailed site plans. It addresses the expiration and extension of detailed site plans, which you currently don't have any language in your current code as to how that's addressed. Now, subsequent to the planning board meeting, but prior to the first reading, we made a few changes just to clarify some things. The first one is section D of section 102-445. 2, which provides that where an existing PD adopted prior to January 11th, 2021 is being amended, the 30% limitation on small lots would only apply to land being added to the PD or for those portions of the PD plan that are being amended. And the reason is to protect the property rights of the people that are moving forward. But if they're making any change, that already have got approval, if they're making any changes to those plans, they have to meet the new criteria. Section 102-453 was clarified that any increase in the open space would not require major modification, which that's what I talked about just a second ago. And then we made 3 other minor changes, all just clarifications for the most part. We had inadvertently noted the multifamily buildings could be located within 30 feet of the perimeter of the property line. That was changed to shall not be located within 30 feet, creating a defined rear yard setback consistent with the language that we intended, a distance of 60 feet between the buildings in the rear. As I think you're aware, of course, we already talked about this, City Commission would always consider a reduced rear yard setback part of a specific approval process. Again, you all would have to make that determination. Section 102-901 was amended to require that identification of 5 caliper trees on site was revised to say 5 inches and larger caliper trees. And I think that was a very good change and a good catch. And then section 102-445 references snout houses. This was deleted because it was addressed a little bit different way in the code, but we want to clarify this. The intent was that snout houses, as we talked about, would be addressed elsewhere. Except for changes in the language regarding setbacks, no changes were made relating to restricting garages protruding beyond 3 feet from the main building. Therefore, we added a section to make sure it was clear what our intention was, that houses that have garages protruding more than 3 feet forward of the main structure of the building are prohibited. Again, you could ask for specific approval. One of the issues I think you're going to have from that we noticed when we were developing the code. Actually, I think your current code actually encourages snot houses. I don't think that's consistent with what you really want to do in the city. It's not consistent with most of the other houses in the city. And so this just makes it clear what's allowed in this area, and it limits what those houses might look like. And on December 9th, 2020, the planning board voted 7-0 to forward the proposed amendment to the city commission with a recommendation of approval. It's a very good meeting. And staff recommends the city commission adopt the ordinance as amended, approving the proposed changes as Division 8 of Article 4, Chapter 102 regarding plan development and zoning districts, and the creation of Article 5, Chapter 102 regarding detailed site plans. And with that, I believe we have to answer the questions.
Any questions, Mr. Barnaby or Ms. Baker? Good work. Okay.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing regarding item 6A on the agenda. Would anyone like to address the commission at this time? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. It's the pleasure of the commission.
Move approve. Move approval.
I'll second. For approval and second it. Any discussion?
I'd like to just say that we've come a long way with all the time and attention to detail and working out the issues regarding future development in Plant City. It hasn't been easy and hasn't been a very smooth transition. Yet I think it will get better, and I think there's room for improvement as we move forward. And those rooms for improvement will probably be learned as we move along. But for the moment, this ordinance change is welcomed, and it provides good guidance for what the City Commission has been striving to achieve and talking about in our workshops and individual meetings with staff for the last year, roughly, I'd say. And more specifically, the last few months as we've gotten really busy. My only wish that if I could have, and I know I can't, I wish we'd started the process much earlier so that we could have been further along before we got into some serious large-scale development. But thankful that we're there now, and I'm strongly in favor of moving this ordinance forward.
Oh, good. Well, I agree with what you said, Commissioner Dodson, but I just want to add to the staff, great job. Okay, you worked on this quick, you worked on it fast. I can tell you from the comments and the lack of comments from our building community that you listened to, us, the citizens, our development community, and you came with a plan that obviously I think, and like Commissioner Dodson says, you're always tweaking a plan. It's something that's always being revised and improved as we, change as a city. And I think this here definitely captures the essence of what we want to do going forward, as far as building communities that mirror the culture and the character of our city. So great job, Mr. Barnaby. Great job working with our team. I'm definitely going to vote for this, and I think you can see this looks like it's going to pass here when we vote on it. If there's no other comments, please place your vote. Record the vote, please. And that's approved with a vote of 5-0. Staff, congratulations. That's a great job. Vice Mayor.
I think, Commissioner Dawson made a great point that, it would have been nice to get to work on this earlier, but I think that the developers heard us loud and clear when we started the workshop project. And I think much of what we just approved this evening has been included in those amendments as we've voted on them the past couple of times. So I think we've accomplished that very well. And I think everybody recognizes that this isn't the first time we've heard this. We've been working on it hard, and great job to staff. And Mr. Barnaby, thanks for all the hard work. It's a great job.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'd like to compliment our development community because they definitely embraced the majority of what we just approved. So that's fantastic. So I think you'll have date night tonight, Mr. Barnaby, don't you? Well, we have many more meetings to go, don't we? Well, thank you very much. Okay. Madam Clerk, next item.
This is a public hearing on an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Plant City, Florida regarding mobile food dispensing vehicles, amending section 102-03 Plant City Code regarding definitions, amending section 102-1430 Plant City Code regarding special event sales, creating section 102-1431 Plant City Code regarding mobile food dispensing vehicle sales, providing for penalties, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Welcome back, Ms. Baker.
Thank you.
You got to feel proud of what just accomplished, don't you?
Oh, yes, very much so.
Great job.
We've got a lot more in the hopper that we're excited about too, moving forward and getting our code, the update that it needs. So yeah, we're very, very excited about what's next too.
Thank you.
So we have a couple of text amendments tonight to the code that are basically just cleanup items to make sure that our code aligns with the requirements of the state. The first one up is PB 2020-34, which is a text amendment to our food truck regulations. The state legislature adopted chapter 22-160, which is codified as section 509.102, which preempts regulations of mobile food dispensing vehicles involving licenses, registrations, permits, and fees to the state. It prohibits local governments from prohibiting mobile food dispensing vehicles. And expressly provides that this section does not otherwise affect a local government's authority to regulate the operation of mobile food dispensing vehicles. The city attorney has reviewed section 102-1430, which is our current code that talks about food trucks, and recommends the following updates to comply with the new statute. So the first is to update the term that we use. Currently we call them food trucks, and we're going to change that to call them mobile food dispensing vehicles. The ordinance has findings explaining the impact of the statute and the purpose of the ordinance. And currently our code addresses food truck sales as something that would be permitted separately as a special event. And this ordinance changes this and creates a new section in the code to address food truck sales or mobile food dispensing sales. And the regulations of the new section 102-1431 are updated and expanded. The proposed modifications were provided for review to the Planning Commission among other agencies, and there were no objections to the modifications proposed. And on November 18th, 2020, the Planning Board voted 5-0 to send the proposal to the City Commission with a recommendation of approval. Therefore, staff recommends that the City Commission adopt an ordinance approving the amendments to section 102-1430 and the creation of section 102-1431 of the Plant City Code of Ordinances regarding mobile food dispensing vehicles. I'm here if you have any questions.
Any questions, Ms. Baker? Ms. Baker,
Yes.
not that this would affect this particular public hearing we're having here tonight. Are there any other changes or recommendations you have for our food truck ordinance that we have?
We're not exploring any current changes. I know we have some concerned citizens that are wanting to operate food trucks that find our regulations a little difficult to navigate. Currently, we require them to pay a fee for each day that they're in a different location, and they're only allowed to be in one location, that particular location, once a week. Now they could set up in a different place every day, but at each location, they would have to pay the fee each day that they operate. And that's become cumbersome to some of the operators. But the only issue is that originally the regulations were created or kind of established the way that they were in certain zoning categories because we wanted to protect our brick and mortar restaurants that we had in place already that obviously have much higher expenses to operate than a food truck does. And we didn't want there to be food trucks everywhere taking business away from those restaurants that, you know, we wanted to protect. And so these regulations basically keep the food trucks in areas where there may not be as many restaurants, you know, the industrial areas or the more intense commercial areas, so that way it's more employee based or that sort of thing. But I think we've seen with COVID, since this whole thing, it was easier for people to do food trucks. They couldn't go sit down in restaurants and that sort of thing. So we've seen a lot more of them, but we aren't currently exploring any changes to other portions of that section.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions? Seeing none. This is a public hearing regarding item 6B on the agenda. Would anyone in the audience like to address the commission at this time? Seeing none, and Madam Clerk, we don't have anyone online, I believe. That's requested to speak tonight, right?
No request for any.
Thank you very much. This public hearing is closed. What's the pleasure of the commission?
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the ordinance. Any discussion? Seeing none, please place your vote. Record the vote, please. It's approved with a vote of 5-0. Madam Clerk, next item.
This is a public hearing on an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Plant City, Florida, amending Article 10 of Chapter 102 Plant City Code regarding proportionate share for mitigation of development impacts on transportation corridors, providing for severability, providing for an effective date.
Ms. Becker, welcome back.
Me again. This is my last one, though. You get somebody new after me. This next application is, again, it's a text amendment. A text amendment that we're doing to our code to just update our code to be exactly what the state statutes say. And this one deals with our concurrency and proportionate share for transportation. So the purpose of the proposed proportionate share program ordinance is to update is to be consistent with section 163.31805 of the Florida statutes. The proportionate share program would apply to all developments that have a negative impact on our roadways, causing the level of service to fall below the benchmark set within our concurrence or with our comprehensive plan. And this program would be in place of the city's concurrency management. So some of the major revisions included section 102.2025, which changes the name of the program from proportionate fair share program to just proportionate share program. And the changes made throughout this entire section of the code as needed. Section 102.2027 deals with the applicability and sets the standard to move away from concurrency requirements and look at comprehensive plan adopted level of service standards for affected roadways. Section 102.2028 is deleting the definition of concurrency and amending the definition of impacted transportation facility. Section 102.2019 is amended to clarify whether mobility fees will be applicable to the added level of service benchmark requirements in lieu of concurrency requirements. 102031 sets forth the application requirements and clarifies that those projects that do not meet the level of service benchmarks will be notified of the mobility fee program as well as the proportionate share program, and also deletes the requirement in this section for the concurrency application. 102.2032 sets forth the methodology for determining proportionate share and amends the section to determine proportionate share mitigation for transportation impacts instead of concurrency impacts. On November 18th, 2020, the Planning Board voted 5-0 to forward the request of the City Commission with a recommendation of approval. And staff recommends that the City Commission adopt an ordinance approving the proposed modification, which amends Article 10 of Chapter 102 concerning proportionate share. I'm here if you have any questions.
Any questions, Ms. Baker? Seeing none, this is a public hearing. Would anyone in the audience like to address the commission at this time? Seeing none, and Madam Clerk, do we have anyone online that had requested to speak?
No request for me.
No. This public hearing is closed. What's the pleasure of the commission?
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, please place your vote. Record the vote, please. It's approved with a vote of 5-0. Madam Clerk, next item.
This is a public hearing on an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Plant City, Florida, closing and vacating a portion of Newsom Road lying west of South Wilder Loop.
Ms. Haney, how you doing tonight?
Good, how are you?
Okay.
I'm Arlene Haney, Planning Tech with the City of Plant City's Planning and Zoning Division. This is a request to vacate a portion of right-of-way called East Newsom Road. It's located west of South Wilder Loop in a proposed entrance area within the North Park Isle development. There were no objections from reviewing agencies. And in November, the Planning Board voted to forward the vacate request to the City Commission with a recommendation of approval. Therefore, staff recommends the City Commission adopt an ordinance to vacate a portion of East Newsom Road. And that concludes my presentation.
Any questions, Ms. Haney? Seeing none, this is a public hearing regarding items 6D on the agenda. Would anyone in the audience like to address the commission at this time? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, do we have anyone that requested to speak online
No request
regarding
for me.
this? Okay, this public hearing is closed. What's the pleasure of the commission?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second to approve item 6D. Any discussion? Seeing none, please place your vote. Record the vote, please. To approve with a vote of 5-0. Madam Clerk, final item.
Other resolutions and ordinances. An ordinance annexing the city of Plant City, Florida, certain real property upon petition of owners thereof and redefining boundary lines of said municipality so as to include therein said real property as provided in section 171.044 Florida statutes. I also have a resolution entitled, "A Resolution Setting the Public Hearing on Proposed Enactment of an Ordinance by the City Commission of the City of Plant City, Florida, as required by Section 166.041 Florida statutes and other applicable law." This resolution sets the public hearing on proposed enactment of said ordinance for another city commission meeting to be held on February 22nd, 2021 at 7:30 p.m.
What's the pleasure of the commission?
Move for approval setting public hearing.
I'll second that motion.
It's been moved second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please place your vote. Record the vote, please. The public hearing is set with a vote of 5-0. Before we end the meeting, I just want to point out, Mr. Wood, good to see you here tonight. I know you've had a long battle here with COVID, and you're the chairman of our planning board. A lot of the agenda items tonight passed through your committee, and I'm just good to see you here and healthy tonight, sir. Appreciate it. I also just, in closing comments, I just want to say, sometimes I look at our staff and under the leadership of our city manager, and they have the ability to move mountains. And back in October, when we all approved the budget from the county, from the COVID relief dollars that was given to the city, and that we had to have it completed, spent by December 31st, and we put together a policy for the city manager. I don't know about you, but I was like, how in the world are they ever going to accomplish what they accomplished? Not only they accomplished, but when you walk through what's occurred here in our facilities, it is absolutely amazing. Mr. City Manager, I know we're proud of you, but we're also proud of our entire staff working together to make that happen. Do you have any comments on that? Because I just still, to this day, I still can't believe all that work has occurred.
I'm glad you mentioned the staff because it's a team effort, and we've brought an awful lot of our talent to bear to do this. Our project manager has been Trey Tolles, and his normal function is professional standards. We set that aside and we put him in charge of this project, and he's done an outstanding job. Mercedes Perez has been in there basically running roughshod over Trey. Diane has been involved. Jack Holland has been instrumental in a lot of this. We've enlisted folks at the PD with their projects, and I can go on. The staff really has been what has allowed us to do this. Everybody has jumped in and done what needed to be done. But I also want to say this. We really, really looked up and drew the right contractor. Manhattan Construction has been fantastic to work with. And those of you that have walked through the building and you've seen the quality of the work that they do, it is absolutely staggering in a good way. And I have to tell you, living with them these past weeks as we've had this work done, they are professional. They hold their employees to a very high standard, and they just are a remarkable company to work with, and they are a big part of the success as well.
Well, I know they built Hoover Dam in record time, but I mean, you almost accomplished something the equivalent of there. But we're definitely more functional and we're definitely safer. So I just want to say congratulations to your team. To this day, I'm still blown away at all that money is was met the standards it needed for us to be able to utilize it in our city. So great job to you and your team. Anyhow, again, Happy New Year to everyone. And yes,
I'd just like to also add a comment to that, because I had the pleasure of taking a tour that the city manager offered early in the stages of construction, demolition. And it was all over the place. And then the whole building was occupied by workers, and city offices were disrupted. People had to go home to work out home. But goodness, the quality is the city manager's success. The changes that have been made are remarkable. And I look forward to taking a follow-up tour to see the finishes that's come from all the reconstruction.
It would have taken me that time just to come up with the ideas first, let alone get it completed, you know? But anyway, any other comments?
I would like to add.
Please.
As you may be aware, Congress extended the deadline on the CARES Act to the end of the calendar year 2021. And that means, Commissioner Dawson, that I will spend every penny.
You will spend it.
But it also means we're expecting to have an amendment to that agreement with the county. So you will be seeing me bring that back. And that will just simply be to acknowledge the extension of time.
Fair enough. Any other comments? Happy New Year, everyone. Let's make 2021 much better than 2020. Amen.
Amen.